All right. It looks like everyone is here. Wow, I'm seeing a big old influx of people coming in. Look at all the people's just coming in to see little old me. All right. Oh, sorry, wrong thing. I had to add that up there at the top, because you never know with some people. Sometimes they tend to forget. I put it in chat and pinned it there, and I also have it here up screen that will be there for the entirety of the stream, so no one can get confused about it later. Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here to bring you a reaction to the newest. No, Priyanshu, Priyanshu, no, don't self-advertise here. Like, it's not, I'm pretty sure you would like for people to do that, but don't do that on someone else's channel, you know? Just don't do that. So, let's go ahead and move on to the real important stuff. Let me bring this up because I literally just got done doing my One Piece reflections. I just got done doing my One Piece reflections, and you know, just for the sake of keeping things secret for myself, I'm full screening this whole thing, and then if you guys say anything important in chat, actually, you know what, moderators, just in case, if there's any spoilers, any LN spoilers, just be on the ready, okay? You never know. Some people like to do that for some reason, thinking that they're being helpful and telling me what's going to happen way into the future. I don't want to know. You guys know me. I never look into scans, and I haven't read the light novel, so I don't know what's going to happen for anyone. So moderators in chat, just be mindful of that. But let's go and get it started. Oh, I've been waiting to read through this. I am actually reading this from ashurascans.com. Because, you know, the place that I used to read, Manga Dex, that's still down. And the other place where I read was readingsolo.net. That was still moving slow on releasing the chapter. So I'm from suggestion from someone, I forget who it was. It was either Kohagen or Ogata-san, who recommended this site for me to read it. We're going to be checking out chapter 146. Last we left off, Jin was pretty much about to face down against the entirety of the Scavengers Guild. So let's go and get started. Oh, I can't wait to do voices. Let's do it. And we got Andre right here saying, "It's not too late to admit your mistakes and back off. I'll at least spare your life if you do so now and apologize." And he's just covered in energy. And then Jin just... Jin doesn't say a word, but just flips him off. That's a good one-liner for this fight. And then he gets even more angry. He says, "You jerk. How dare you?" And he grits his teeth. And then the energy around him, wow, the energy is actually starting to shape on his back. Like lines are coming across his back. Andre's back. And it starts to rip his shirt apart. Think Yoroichi using Shunko and it literally blowing all of her clothes except for her uniform off. It's functioning like that. "You'll regret not having taken this last chance." And then his muscles enlargen. His muscles crackle with energy. His legs get strips of energy lines all over his body. And he stomps and plants himself into the ground. His flip-flops are gone. They're gone. Then we start seeing other members of the scavenger guilds. They start having a glow around them as well. And then we see all of Jin's shadow soldiers. I don't know why, but just seeing his soldiers standing there, it just emanates hype. We see Iron standing here with a bunch of other soldiers right behind him. And then Jin just says, "Advance." And then Andre says, "They're coming." And then it just shows, in this big old massive panel, all the shadow soldiers coming towards the scavenger guild. And mind you, all of Jin's soldiers, They outnumber the Scavenger Guild. From this panel, they pretty much take up the majority of the panel, as on one side, it just shows like a small, from the bird's eye view, it's a small grouping of the Scavenger Guild face off against an entire army's worth of shadow soldiers that are just plummeting down on them. And they're all just rushing everyone. And it looks like the Scavenger Guild's got all their tanks in front, rushing to, hold the line of defense. Shields deployed! And they all just make a wall of shields. And in turn, I don't know if this is a buff that they're using, they buff it, and I guess they get a buff in a way where it causes a ginormous shield wall to just appear from where they're making this line of defense. And it's showing all the shadow soldiers running directly towards it. And it shows the shadow soldiers all launching towards the shield, I guess attempting to break it, and they all get blown back. So all the shadow soldiers that tried to jump at the shield wall got full countered. And then some get thrown back. It's kind of tricky to tell what direction they're getting thrown back into because of it showing these... it actually shows some of the shadow soldiers getting, cut up a little bit and regenerating. But it's kind of tricky to tell due to... okay, I see it. The shadow soldiers are actually getting thrown about and tossed aside and dismembered by Andre himself. He is literally just running through all of them. Because these panels, they're long, but I haven't figured out how to flip the webpage so I can see it go landscape rather than portrait. But Andre, in his buffed up mode, is tearing through all of these soldiers like they're absolutely nothing. Then we got Tusk, who builds up a ward right in front of Andre. And Andre braces himself and launches towards Tusk with a manic look in his eye. Like his eyes are glowing and there's cracks around his mouth and cracks around his eyes. And he just launches towards Tusk and completely shatters the shield that Tusk had and goes straight through Tusk's head. He just completely shatters the shield that Tusk made. And mind you, Tusk has enlarged himself. But Andre just torpedoes straight through him. And then Andre says, "Those guys don't stand a chance." And he's looking back, and it shows Andre about to land on top of the factory, I think. And he just lands in there. He just lands in there while the head of Tusk starts to slowly reform, or it's just still split open. But Andre lands hard on the ground, and then he looks ahead, and then he sees that a bunch of his Scavenger Guild mates have fallen to some of the soldiers that are here, and only one more is standing. And then it shows one of them. It shows Jin. I didn't even see Jin standing in front of the guy at first, but Jin is standing in front of the guy, and then Jin just uses his ability to crush the guy, one of the Scavenger Guild mates, into the ground. And then he looks over to the side, like he gives Andre the side eye, like, "Oh, you're here?" And then Andre just bum rushes him. Then Iron dashes out in front of Andre to try and stop him. Iron dashes out in front of Andre to try and stop this man. What is going to happen? And then Andre says, "Move," and punches. And he prepares to, shoulder check Iron. And Iron in this panel has a smile on his face, like, "Go ahead and try it." But Andre just swats him. Andre just comes up and swats Iron out of the way. Like, Iron ain't the tank of the group. Like, he just swats him. There's a lot more action scenes than there are talking scenes in this channel, in this whole chapter right now that I'm seeing. He just swats him off to the side. Think of how Hercule tried to go up against Cell. That's the same stiff arm that Andre just gave Iron right now. And then Andre's looking where Jin was and says, "Where'd he go?" Because Jin's not there. He's just gone. There's a whiff of dust where he was, and Jin's gone. And Jin is underneath Andre while his arm is still in. Whoo! Y'all better stop. Y'all better stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. Stop playing. Jin is already underneath Andre before Andre can even put his arm down from swatting away Iron. Okay, Shonen Sensei, you said this was hype and you weren't lying. And then Jin punches Andre straight in the side. The first blow between these, the second blow, because the first one came from Jin. That started the fight. And now we get another one from Jin that shows Jin punching him directly into the side. No! Not punching, trying to use his dagger to stab into Andre. But it doesn't do anything. It goes across his skin like metal across granite. It just scrapes across his skin. Yo! Is this something Jin can't cut? He tries to cut Andre, and it doesn't do anything to him. And Andre just looks at him as he prepares to punch Jin. And Jin barely manages to get out of the way, but gets hit in the side. And he is thrown straight into the air. Like, the force of that punch is enough to throw him straight in the air. And then Andre says, "You're looking down on a national level hunter." And then he opens up his hand behind him. Wait, I'm sorry? Psychokinesis? Jin says, "Psychokinesis?" Yo. Then Andre says, "Feel the difference in our strengths and despair." I'm sorry? I'm sorry? Andre can use the force as well? Almighty pull? This dude just almighty pulled Jin! Of all people! Ah! Yo! And then Jin tries to use the same thing on Andre and tries to crush him into the ground. While Andre is trying to use the force to pull Jin, Jin is trying to use the force to crush him. And then Andre says, "What the? Is he planning on crushing me like this? No, it's as if he has me fixed in place. This jerk, even as he's being pulled in towards me, he chooses to attack." And as Jin closes in to Andre pulling him, Andre, yeah, yo, Jin lands a hit on Andre and draws first blood. I'm walking. I need a moment. Need a moment. I'm back. Yo, Jin lands a hit straight into... What did he hit? Did he hit his neck? Did Jin hit his neck or did he hit his head? Whichever one he hit, Andre's spitting out blood right now. And sends Andre flying. And then Andre's thinking to himself, I'm bleeding? Andre rights himself and stops himself from flying any further. And Jin is already on him. Jin is already on him before he can even look in his direction. Then, oh my goodness, this line right here. Well, oh my goodness. Jin then runs up on him with his fist ready and says, "What'd you say just now? Feel the difference in our strengths and despair?" And then it shows Jin just going maximum Spidey on Andre. Just ping-ponging everywhere, landing hit after hit after hit after hit after hit on Andre. Then Andre says, and he looks at Jin and he just glares at him and says, "All right, I'll stop underestimating you now. Reinforcement." And then all of a sudden, more glows start to go across his body. And I guess it shows the rest of the scavenger guild still driving cars towards where he is. No, it's the United States Bureau. There's White in there. Adam White is in there. And one of the guys says, "Mr. White, it's about time you tell me what's going on here." Then Mr. White says, "There's no time to be explaining everything And then all of a sudden, the driver says, "What's going on?" Then White says, "You might not be able to tell as a normal civilian, but if we go any further than this, we'll be risking our lives." And they made it towards the factory area, and they all stopped. Oh, we got narration. At that moment, Sung Jin-woo thought, "There are 4 humans who borrowed the ruler's strength." Hey, one of you guys did mention this, but now we have a full-on confirmation in this panel. There are 4 humans who borrowed the ruler's strength. Perhaps they are among the 5 who survived the Kamish raid. Wait, is this Andre? Is this figure that's clad in like bug-like chitinous armor, covered in countless panels and multiple armor plates, spiky armor plates that looks like a, I want to say, dirty brown version of Daedric armor from Skyrim, just covered in this? Is this Andre? Perhaps they are among the 5 who survived the Kamish raid. I apologize, everyone, if I'm being a bit too loud during this reaction. It's just that, wow, I was not expecting all this to happen in this chapter, so my apologies for being too loud. Let me know if I'm too close to my mic. But this person here, is this Andre in this armor that looks like he took on this one frog monster with a big tusk from Monster Hunter? Is this Andre? Narration continues. That is, they are 4 of the nation-level hunters. And then the foot stamps down into the ground. And then Jin just looks on. And Thomas Andre was no exception. Yo. Is that Andre? Yo. Why does this man look? Okay. This armor reminds me of something. The armor reminds me, for those of you who have played Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen, where the final boss of the game, which is called Daemon. It's a giant, humongous, I want to say gargoyle-ish demon-looking creature that you fight when you get to the Bitter Black Isle. And he has like eyes in his chest and a full-on face in his chest. Just the way if this is Andre, just the way Andre looks, he looks like someone who could take on Fatalis by himself. I wish I could show you this image here, but I already told you where I went to read this chapter on, so you guys can check this out for yourself. But Andre has completely clad himself in full-on armor that he calls reinforcement. And then Jin rushes him. Then Andre raises his arms, and Jin just looks on in shock because Andre hits the ground with enough force to just straight up shatter it, and Jin jumps away before he gets caught up in it. Yo! Okay. Moment. I need a reprieve. Up until this point, we've experienced people hit the ground with enough force to just shake the entire area that they're in, hit people into the ground and cause like craters here and there. Even Beru had a moment where he was cratering numerous areas during the Jeju Island raid. But never have I seen someone hit the ground with such force that it causes the entire area around them to explode. Andre hit the ground with a good old-fashioned Hulk smash, and everything just flies away like he just blew up. Like he exploded with the force of a nuke and sends everything flying. It's not just hit the ground and then it's just the shockwave. No, everything is being blown away from him. And it immediately starts to bring down the factory that they're standing in. And Jin is in the air after jumping away from it, and he's looking down at Andre, and he actually has a sweat bead on his face. Is Jin actually nervous about this? Has he never seen this type of strength before? And then all of a sudden, he stops. Oh, he stops. Because then Andre looks at him and says, "Capture." And then a orb appears in his hand. An orb of some kind appears in his hand. And then we see one of the guild members say, "Get away from Master! Move now!" Then all the shadow soldiers are looking on. And what's happening to the shadow soldiers? They're being ripped apart. What's happening? I'm sorry? I'm sorry? I'm sorry? The orb that Andre made in his hand? Did this man just create a black hole in his hands? This man just created a black hole in his hands. This man just created a black hole in his hands. What? Just when I think this manhwa is not capable of making me get out of my seat and just be dumbfounded for a couple of seconds, this happens. Andre just created a black hole in his hands and it's dragging all the shadows into it. Then Jin says, "What incredible strength. It's like a black hole." As he's holding on to the areas to keep it from, he says right here, "I would have gotten sucked in if it weren't for ruler's authority." So he's actually using his own telekinesis ability to keep himself from being dragged in. And then Andre is looking at him. And then Jin sees a flash of light. And then there's a massive explosion that not only destroys the factory that they're in, but also starts to blow up the adjacent buildings around them. And then it shows the aftermath as Jin lands on top of a destroyed building. And he looks down at Andre, who's standing in a crater of his own making, just like Andre ain't even do nothing. And then Andre's just looking at him and saying, "I won't miss this time." And then Jin is just staring down at him. Yo, that's the end of the chapter. My goodness. Oh! I want a solo leveling game more than anything. Did you catch that Jinwoo I am Batman stance? Yo! Your boy's Batman! That's so hot! Yo! He just created that Interstellar. He just created that black hole from Interstellar. That's the vibe I got! I looked at it, all I could hear is just the Hans Zimmer movement, Hans Zimmer music, and as you just imagine if this panel got animated. You just see the orb being created. And then you see all the shadows being pulled to it, and you hear the ticking of the Hans Zimmer music of the Those Aren't Mountains. You know the scene. And the music swells as it zooms out from Andre creating this black hole singularity. And the music flares as he's holding up this massive black hole over himself. And it's just everything being pulled into it. Yo, this chapter was hype. Oh my goodness. I'm looking at the comment section right now. Let's go. You already know what that word is in between then. And then another one that says, this chapter, I like it. Another. A Thor meme right there. Yet another great find. Just like that, I stole your meme. Look at me. I'm going to steal your meme now. You know what? I'm absolutely sure that Jin flipping off Andre is going to become a meme now. Jinwoo giving Thomas the finger was one of my favorite moments in the story. Like the fact that he didn't even care about Andre at all and just flipped him off like, oh my goodness, like this whole thing, it was amazing. Oh my goodness, the whole fight. And then pushing, it's a short chapter, and then pushing Andre to the point where he had to rely on one of the powers of the rulers, which we pretty much confirm here. He reinforces himself and gains access to new abilities. Because first off, we see this man has psychokinesis, which means that he can use the same type move that Jin can use to pull things toward him. You know, like Shiboku Tensei. Like, just pulling Jin towards him, and Jin has to use his own ability to try and crush him. It's like, why? Why would you hype me up like this? How dare you? How dare you? I don't know exactly what that Gutenberg chick's speech is, but wow. Oh my goodness. Yo, we got someone. Need to activate the screen change key shortcut on the new versions of Windows 10 because many people, either them or their pets, did by mistake and didn't know how to change it back. I know it was like a control shift and then you use one of the directional buttons to move it, but I haven't used it. And it's been a while. He almost looks like Baron. That's the vibe that I got, Danny. That's the vibe that I got. When I pictured him, I was like, wow, he's got hair that reminds me just like Baron, except you can't actually see his face. Finally, someone Jin can one-shot. Andre can't one-shot. Andre is that dude. Yo, Andre, this Hawaiian shirt, shade-wearing, flip-flop slipping on dude is up here saying like, Jin, you strong. But now I'm about to show you just how strong a real national level hunter is. So now we have a fight where Jin has actually had to sweat. This man got nervous. This man got nervous. This man saw that. How many people can you say create a literal black hole in their hands? And then just throw it. And then says, the next time I won't miss. Like, bruh, you know who else said that? Ukiyoda, when he was phasing off against Ichigo, when Ichigo went full hollow. He was all like, Lanzan del Rempago. And just, pulled out the lance and throw it and says, well, that's my bad. I guess I got to try it again. My aim is not as good as it could be. This time I won't miss. And then it's like, Andre said, like, this time, when I throw this black hole at you, this time I won't miss. I am hype. Thanks for the reaction. Hey, Baby Blue, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, but goodness gracious. Whew. This was a hype chapter. I don't know what to say. Jin better come up with something new to counter Andre. Dude, Kohagen, he can't even cut. He couldn't even cut Andre before he used reinforcement. He tried to stab into Andre, and it just went across his skin like that saw blade did against, Luke Cage's skin during the TV show. I only know that one clip from YouTube. I've never seen the entire show. But it just went across his skin like it didn't do nothing. Jin's got to come up with something new. And can you imagine what happens if Jin actually levels up from beating Andre? Can you imagine? Andre's reinforcement technique kind of reminds me of the spiritual manifestation used by the national level hunter Christopher Reed. That's what it reminds me of as well. So it has to be. It has to be. I feel like humans who get the power of the rulers get the power of spiritual manifestation that allows them to take on brand new forms. Because Christopher Reed have it and wound up burning literally his whole home and the adjoining area around it in a massive wildfire. Here, we have Andre, who has monstrous strength, has now reinforced that, and has made himself even stronger than before. Jin has to come up with something new in order to combat him. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this because this was just an overall hype chapter. They need to make a solo leveling video game. They need to make one. Oh my goodness, I would play it, I would buy it, I would play it if it's done right. Maybe by Platinum Games or Team Ninja. Either one of those two. Try Windows key, spacebar, then Alt right. And then Alt right arrow key on Windows 10. Okay, Alt. Yep, nothing's happening. It's not happening here. I'll find out later. Destruct. I'll figure it out later. Once I figure it out, then I'll have a way of being able to rotate the screen for that. Because from previous episode, the ruler army kind of looked the same. Like they only have subtle changes. They remind me of the Nobodies from the Kingdom Hearts series. They have the same concept, but they have slight changes that differentiate them. So yeah, the rulers themselves, they kind of remind me of the Nobodies from the Kingdom Hearts series. But now we just need to see what happens. And the fact that we get left out on such a big cliffhanger where Jin is just looking at him like, I am vengeance. I am the knight. If he can raise him with the ruler power, I don't think he can. But I'm not going to go too far into detail because, some people may get overzealous and say, like, no, he can't because he doesn't do that in the light novel. I don't want to go off into that. But overall, this was a massively 10 out of 10 chapter. And the last chapter we get of solo leveling in March. Oh, I can't wait to see what you're a manga only reader, right? Yes, I am. I do not read the light novel because I want to read through these chapters, which is why I have, the whole overhead where it says no light novel spoilers in chat, because I enjoy this setup of, reading this once every week for you guys and, flex my voice acting chops just a little bit. But I will read the light novel once all the chapters are done, and only then, just so that way I can just read it all the way through. But overall, fantastic chapter, absolutely fantastic. I am so glad I got to see this on the last day of March. Whew. Andre versus Sung Jin Woo. Reinforcement Andre versus Jin. Jin's gonna have to figure out something in order to sort this whole mess out, because Jin cannot use the only Jin can no longer just use his straight up strength to just beat up on Andre, because even though he managed to draw blood from Andre before reinforcement, after reinforcement, Andre's all like, nah, bruh, let me just go full Beerus the Destroyer on you right now. Okay, so in 10 years, more or less, I kind of like reading it through these chapters for you guys. I really do. So, for right now, Lucy Key. Hey, you're fine. Sorry you're late. It's all good, Lucy. If you didn't see my whole reaction, it's going to be up very soon, so you'll be able to see it. But, hey, I'm glad you're here regardless. I am bringing it to a close because overall, this was a 10 out of 10 chapter. I am so glad that I was able to read this. This was fantastic. This was fantastic. There's no other way I can put this, you guys. This was awesome. He might need to summon Beru for assistance. I don't know if he, I mean, I wouldn't want him to summon Beru for Beru to be a crutch for him. Because I feel like even though Beru is crazy strong, I would hate for him to have to take Beru from his job of protecting both his mom and sister. But that's just my thoughts on it. Think plot armor might occur? We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see next week, everyone. We'll just have to see. I don't think it'd make much difference. Yeah, even if Beru showed up, all Andre would have to do is just, use Shiboku Tensei and just, absorb Beru into the black hole. Because what happened? What happened to the soldiers? Did they just get Did they just get absorbed into that black hole? Or were they just completely dissipated? Or are they trying to regain themselves? I don't know. But overall, I enjoyed it. Where's Solo Leveling Chapter 146? I mean, if you're wondering why I don't have it up on my channel for images to see, I don't do that because, well, it can very well affect my channel and get copyright striked. And you guys know I don't play that. So it's at Ashura Scans. It's at ashurascans.com/solo leveling. There you go. Are we back? Are we good? Are we good? Whew! I'm so glad I didn't speak too much. But, are we good? Are we live? Is everything normal again? Okay, I gotta end it here because my internet just went out and I don't want to risk it. But okay, but that's where I'm going to end it here for the ladies and gentlemen. This was a 10 out of 10 chapter. This was absolutely hype. Even though there was a couple of seconds of, couple of panels of talking, they were all just, setting up for the next panel of showing, something big happening. So overall, I massively enjoyed this chapter. I really did. So that's where I'm going to bring it to close here for today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to keep you longer than I already have. Otherwise, I'll start monologuing, and you guys know how easy it is for me to do that. I'm trying to cut cold turkey on it. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Can I monologue? I'm not going to go down that road with you guys. I'm not. But overall, I enjoyed this chapter, and I'm glad I was able to share it with you. I'm glad that this is a chair that can get moved real easily so I can get out my chair when something awesome happens. But overall, fantastic chapter. If you have not read it, read it. Read it. I know I'm going to get some comments talking about this chapter as a whole, so I look forward to seeing them. And don't worry, I see every single comment you guys leave, and I respond to it accordingly. All in all, fantastic 100 out of 100 chapter. I enjoyed it. So, as I close, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for tuning in to what I do here. I find that my solo leveling streams just gets massive amounts of, interaction with you guys massively. It's one of the things that hits 1,000, has been recently hitting 1,000 in less than 24 hours. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you. That surprises me. I'm honored. I'm honored that you guys enjoy what I do. That's the only purpose of this channel, is to entertain you. That is the only thing that I seek whenever I put my face in front of this camera, in front of that mic, and in front of your face. That is the only thing I desire, is your enjoyment. Because if you guys aren't enjoying yourselves when you're here, then I'm doing something wrong. But that's all I got for you guys. You guys know my heart. You know how much I love to do this. And as I work towards doing this full time, it's still taking a little bit, but I'm not giving up on that dream of mine where I can do this all the time for you. What about the earlier comments, live ones? Hold on, let me just look through this real quick. Face Khan, Shonen Sensei, Danny Mondragon, Destruct, Narinjas, Baby Blue, Khalil, El Gogeta, Jeremy, Bagus. They pretty much just covered what all we talked about a little bit earlier. But let me see what you said. I think you need to act. Okay, you were kind of talking about the Windows thing earlier. Yo, on that high note, Andre's that dude. Careful near glass. First blood. Here it comes. Yeah, Andre can bleed now. He looks just like Beru. Armor Andre. Yes, he was changing when he said, "I would not underestimate you." Armor is epic. But yeah, I pretty much covered all the major things. But I just want to say thank you. You guys, I love doing this. I really do. And I'm honored to do this for you. It really is. This is my talent, and I find no greater joy and use for my talents than in the service of others. So, with that being said, hope y'all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed what you saw here, then consider subscribing. I'm not making you. It is entirely your choice. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, consider subscribing because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples! I gotta make it a habit of having this thing on a quick tab so I can just bring up the background.